Hello and happy Saturday, and thank you for joining me. I already see that the chat is already getting started. So I got a pretty tight time frame because I'm on another stream immediately after, so we're going to get right into it. I've got my awesome co-host Mark joining me today. Unfortunately, Ryan will not be able to join us today because he is working. Hello, Mark. Thank
I got
you
a
for
growling
joining
puppy.
as always. And
Hey,
his
yeah.
puppies, of course. Can't forget the
I
puppies.
will
And
be, if anyone's played Persona 5, I'm going to be grinding out the mementos that exists in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth through this entire show.
all right. You do a great job of multitasking. I couldn't do that. But for an awesome guest that I just met last week on Nerdtorial's channel, we got Leon from Words of Paradise. Hello. Thank you for joining
Persona
me.
5 and just got me all hot and bothered.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite games of all time. Nice to meet both of you guys.
Have you ever played the Yakuza games, Leon?
I played a couple of them on PS2. I think it was Yakuza 3 and 4.
Oh, okay. Interesting, because I recently finished 3 and I'm in the second chapter for the Saejima chapter. Taiga, the character. But if you like Persona, especially Infinite Wealth, but even Like a Dragon, the one that was called Yakuza Like a Dragon, the series is now going to be called Like a Dragon in the West. It's speaking of Resident Evil, it's kind of a Biohazard Resident Evil situation, but now the series is Like a Dragon going forward. The new one that came out, though, it has more in common with the Persona game than it does with the Yakuza game. It's a JRPG. It's turn-based, and you have a party. But man, this game is fucking awesome. It's really, really good.
I've been told to play the new Yakuza games, and I do want to. It was something that, as a big Sega fan, you would think would have been on my radar, but for whatever reason, I haven't played them since the PS2. But Cult Classic Cage just told me a million times to get back into Yakuza, so I'm gonna have to actually take everyone's advice and get on that.
This one takes place in Hawaii. You can go to the arcade in Anaconda Mall, and you can just play Virtua Fighter 3. I tested it, and my fight stick.
That's my favorite Virtua Fighter game. My favorite game was in
the team battle
game.
one too. Virtua Fighter 3 team battle. You can either play easy or normal mode, like arcade run through it, and it's the whole game's in there. It's neat stuff in Yakuza.
That is sick. Well, thank you
Mark
for
has been.
Both of you.
Yeah, I'm glad you could join us. Yeah, Mark's been talking like every episode, because what we usually do is start off with what we've been playing lately, and a lot of what Mark's been talking about every episode has been the different Yakuza games he's been playing. So
yeah, I've kind of been firing through them this month.
So are you you're playing the one that just came out this week, right?
Yeah, Infinite Wealth. And yeah, it's very, very good. It's still a turn-based JRPG, so it's not a beat 'em up again, which is the biggest. The people that I know who don't like Infinite Wealth and Yakuza Like a Dragon generally are just like, yeah, I don't want Yakuza to be a JRPG though. I want it to be a beat 'em up, and the beat 'em ups are great. I think they're awesome, but the JRPG versions are also quite good. It's kind of my position on it. It's like, well, I mean, it's a different type of game, but it's a very good version of that type of game.
Cool.
I'm a sucker for JRPGs, so.
Yeah, you probably will like this.
Yeah, and I don't know about all of them, because I know Infinite Wealth isn't, but I know a lot of the Yakuza games are on Game Pass if you have Game Pass.
Infinite Wealth and the 2 Judgment games are the only ones that are not, and they all play on PC as well.
I need to reactivate my Game Pass. Right after Christmas, my debit card got hacked, and so I had to change all my information, and I forgot about my Game Pass subscription, so right now it's dead just because I haven't updated it with my new card, but it's something I will be doing.
I had that happen to my card just a couple months ago, too. I freaking hate it when that happens.
Oh, yeah, it was a nightmare. Same thing happened. I forgot Hulu and Game Pass, and so I go to me and my best friend have been watching One Piece. I've been showing him One Piece for the first time, which means I restarted it from the beginning, even though I was already 950 plus episodes in. But he really wanted to watch One Piece, and I was like, all right, let's do it. And lo and behold, Netflix only has the first 516 episodes, and he and I we caught up. He's been loving it, which has been awesome to re-experience it with him, because the only anime he'd ever really seen was Dragon Ball and Naruto. And seeing him, and we watched those as kids, seeing him as a almost 30-year-old man watching One Piece and acting like it's effectively his like first anime as an adult without any sort of nostalgia. And he's been in tears, it's been emotional, it's been great. But Netflix only had the first 516 episodes. So I'm like, all right, let's move on over to Hulu. We got to get back into this. Hey, your Hulu has not been reactivated. I was like, oh no, it was rough.
Nice. So what about you, Leon? What have you been playing lately, or have you been playing anything lately?
I've been playing. I recently downloaded for the first time in probably since my childhood. I've been playing Duke Nukem 3D.
Oh, nice.
I've been having a blast with Duke Nukem 3D. They don't make games like this anymore, dude. I'm having so much fun.
Have you ever played Ion Fury? Or heard of it? Ion Fury. It was originally called Ion Maiden, but Iron Maiden actually sued them over it, or like cease and desist them. But
I've seen Ion Fury, but I have not played it.
Okay, so there was a game that 3D Realms released a few years ago called Bombshell. Bombshell starred this character. Oh shit, what's her name? I kind of forget what her name is, but damn it. Well, anyways, it was supposed to be set in the Duke Nukem universe, and she was supposed to be the female equivalent to Duke Nukem, like the Bombshell, if you will. And it was a top-down shooter. Didn't really make a lot of waves, but a company just recently made a game called Ion Fury in 2018, I want to say, and a big expansion pack that came out this past year in the build engine. So in the original engine, the Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, like all those games were made. And Blood is another really great build engine game, which I'd recommend strongly. That was from back in the day, though. And yeah, so Ion Fury is a new franchise that is apparently not in the Duke Nukem universe anymore, like officially. And also the name's kind of switched around and stuff. But yeah, they're new Duke Nukem. They're new games that are very much like Duke Nukem 3D with and the weapons and the
you brought it up, and it looks like it's on Switch. Which I do
it's not everything
gaming, but honestly, I love gaming on my Switch. I love reasons to own Switch
I would if you play with a mouse and keyboard on PC, I would recommend playing this game on PC. It's a very difficult game. Yeah, it's a fast shooter. I mean, if Switch is just where you play, you know, like I know a lot of people that just will not even attempt to learn how to play with a mouse and keyboard. And,
I play mouse and keyboard. I used to be terrified of mouse and keyboard, and then about a year and a few months ago, got into World of Warcraft, and just ever since then, I've been able to play most games mouse and keyboard. Like
that's funny. For me, I got into. I was actually Vermintide 2 that made me pick up mouse and keyboard again. I used to play a bunch of PC games back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, but I kind of took a break and when I went off and did military stuff, so I was playing more console games because I could bring my 360 or my PS3 around while I was training. And got back into it playing Vermintide, and the MMO I play is Final Fantasy 14, and I play it with a controller. So it's like the opposite type of
Final Fantasy 15 or 14 is good. I've been considering, because I've taken a break from WoW for the last few months. I've been hesitant, but really wanting to start Final Fantasy 14. I don't want to be running two MMORPGs at once. I feel like that'd be just chaotic and overwhelming. But also,
like
Final Fantasy 14 has such a great reputation. I really want to play it.
You can play 14 up to the end of the second expansion for free. So the only thing that gets locked off if you don't want to subscribe during that time, like during those first two expansions, is a bunch of the social features. But if you're not planning to like join a clan or anything, they're called free companies here in FF14. But if you don't care about any of that stuff and you just want to see the story, because the stories are great, particularly Heavensward, like the second expansion or the first expansion, the second campaign is a very, very good story about dragons and elves and all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm probably have to dip my. I didn't know the first few expansions were free. I'm probably have to dip my toes in 14 because I've heard some great stuff. I'm a big Final Fantasy guy. So again, back to what we were saying earlier about JRPGs.
So on the topic of Duke Nukem, because I've never actually played a Duke Nukem game, but I did recently pick up, I think it was Duke Nukem 3D Anniversary, because it was like super cheap. So I've got that in the backlog. So that'll be my first adventure into the Duke Nukem franchise.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it, especially if you're a fan of old action stars or Bruce Campbell style comedy. Like that's what because I played those games probably way too young. My granny was diagnosed with cancer when I was like a little kid, and she was and she was like, since she couldn't really do anything, so she had to sit around the house all day, be on oxygen. She got into games. She got into being a gamer, and so most of my video game experience was actually shown to me by my grandmother, and she was a massive Duke Nukem fan. So I played those games at like 4 years old, and I shouldn't have been, but I love them.
Yeah, I never played Doom back then either. I didn't actually play the original Dooms until after Doom 2016. I played them since. My game of that era was Dark Forces. That was my
Star Wars Dark Forces.
Wait, you played Dark Forces and you never thought of like buying Doom? Like,
I probably wouldn't have been allowed to have Doom back then.
Oh, okay. I was thinking because if I played and liked Dark Forces, I'd be like, hey, I want to play more of these.
I missed.
Then how do you not come across Doom? You know, because that's
I knew
the one everyone would recommend.
Yeah, no,
But-
I had the knockoff of Doom. I had Hexen, which was Doom, but like set in the medieval times.
Hexen's good.
I loved Hexen.
The other one that
I
I
have
played
a
that was
game
knockoff?
recommendation for Hexen too. A medieval for that. MID space evil, like the word evil. It's a great game. Fantastic, actually. It's
another Doom knockoff that I did play back then. It was like everyone in my school was playing it for like a couple weeks. Was Chex Quest.
Oh, dude, I love Chex Quest, and it won't even front. Chex Quest was
Chex
awesome.
Quest was great.
that one.
It was Doom, but made for kids.
Yeah.
You're fighting like evil cereals and you use a spork and stuff. But yeah, so what I've been playing lately, I have two things, but one of them I'm going to wait because it's actually the answer to one of our questions today, one of our topics. But what I have been playing that I'm going to mention is I mentioned it last party chat on what I was going to be playing. And I've been playing through the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy game, and I'm very close to the end. It's not my first time playing through it. It's my second time, but I'm at like chapter 14 of 16. So I'm really close to finishing that off. But yeah, so the other thing that I will be mentioning that I've been playing recently, I will talk about when we get to that topic. So before we move into our topics, just want to quickly say hi to the chat. Had good friend Nadia saying hi. She's going to watch the replay. Vex Electronica, I know of you, but I think this might be your first knowing of me. So welcome. Glad to see you. And hopefully you can make my next party chat.
The greatest woman on YouTube. I swear. I love that girl.
So I've got a little bit of an announcement for next party chat, and Nadia and potentially Vex might be part of that. Spartacus, what's up, Spartacus? He was on my last open mic, not this last Thursday because I did some gaming, but the Thursday before. What's up, Spartacus? And Static. I saw someone this morning. I could have swore it was you. I'm like, is that Stat? No, he doesn't live in my state. But I saw someone I could like, it looked like your doppelganger. But hello, Static. And Tim's Talk. What's up, Tim's Talk? I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you here. And my good buddy Charlie over Goes Nowhere Does Nothing. And Static is saying that Chex Quest was awesome as well. So thank you for joining us, everyone. And we are going to get into our first topic for the day. And let's see here. What is the first topic? First topic today is, what game were you most eagerly anticipating? So for me, a few of them, but the one that I don't think I've ever followed a game as the game's development as closely as this, and it was didn't end up being one of my favorite games, but I have talked about it before because it is the game I've spent the most time in. Not my favorite game, but I do like it, and I followed it like through from the beginning that I heard about it. I followed all these YouTubers and stuff and followed their updates like every week. Was the original Destiny. So I was a big fan of Destiny. I'm not going to say it's a great game, but I did enjoy it, and I've spent a lot of time in it. But I followed the development of that game closer than any other game ever. Probably the other two games that I followed quite closely as my favorite franchise of all time is the Mass Effect games. I was following those as they were being developed. And then back then, one of my favorite franchises before Mass Effect was really coming to its own was the Halo franchise, and the not the original Halo, because I didn't even play that until a while after it came out. But Halo 3, I was super stoked for that, and I followed the development of that. So those are like my most eagerly anticipated games of all time. So I'm curious what your guys' most eagerly anticipated games of all time were.
Oh, of all time. I was kind of thinking of this year. But
I thought you meant upcoming this year. Okay, that's gonna easily change my answer. All right, lay it on me, Mark. I gotta think for a sec.
Probably like one of the Metal Gear Solid games, maybe like 4 or 5. I don't really know though, because I don't know that I get excited about games now the way I did even like 5 years ago. Yeah, I guess because I play so many more of the bigger games that come out, so that I understand what they are and I can talk to them. That I know how many of them now are rushed to completion and not really nearly as good as they seemed like they were going to be before their release, and even nearly as good as people are saying they are when they're out. I find that's happening a lot lately, and I think funny that you mentioned your experience with Destiny. I think that mentality that people have towards a pre-release video game can negatively impact their ability to analyze the game and to criticize it with a not necessarily objective, but with a honest and neutral position, like not going in wanting to love it more than anything. Because I know that I say probably it was movies that I would be more excited for like that than others. Like, man, this is gonna be the best movie ever. The last one was like this, and now it's this person, and they fired this guy who was the only thing holding that last one back. And very often that results in disappointment, and it makes sense that it does. But in video games, it happens in a way that involves a lot more of your money and a lot more of your time. So it's why I often now will say that even when a game looks incredible and you're excited for it to come out, don't try to understand that it might still launch totally broken, and don't guarantee to yourself that it's going to be your favorite game of the year before it's actually in your hands and you've played it. And I guess that's kind of the way I see that.
It's so funny you say that, because we were backstage, we were talking about Resident Evil 4, and that was kind of my experience with Resident Evil 4. Again, it's I have this reputation as a Resident Evil 4 remake hater, and it's not that I hate it. It's so much so is that I already had reservations about the recent Resident Evil remakes, and then they're like, oh man, now they're remaking what is literally considered not just arguably the best Resident Evil game, but one of the best games of all time. That's why my review was called Resident Evil 4 Remake Deserves More Criticism. That's not saying it's bad, but like, I do wish people were more objective. Like, I wanted to love Resident Evil 4. I wanted it to be good, but also I wanted to review it in like the most honest way possible. And unfortunately, like, I guess fortunately, but unfortunately, the fanboy love of Resident Evil didn't take over. I had to be honest about the game and the issues with it. So I really appreciate your take on that, because you can still enjoy something while, saying that there's valid criticism of it, whether it be a game, a movie, a book, whatever it be. So,
you can still love something and recognize its faults.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. As far as the games that I'm most looking forward to, so there are a couple of coming out this year that I want to give a shout out to. That I'm actually like, this the only ones that off the top of my head immediately jumped out on me. Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, or Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I haven't even
heard of that one.
Oh,
what kind of game is it?
It's Budokai Tenkaichi 4.
Oh, okay.
It was billed as Budokai Tenkaichi 4, like when the trailer first dropped, and then the second trailer they changed the name. But it's basically the Tenkaichi game.
Is it the 3D fighter games?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
the ones with free movement though, where you can kind of fly. Okay.
Yep,
I've seen those.
And the last one was Budokai Tenkaichi 3, like on the Wii and PS2, and with the series has been dormant since. So going back to it all these years later, I'm stoked. It may be good, it may not. I don't know, but it is an absolute fanboy for Dragon Ball Z. So I'm there. I'm gonna give it a shot. And then Persona 3 Reload, the remake of Persona 3. I'm all in for that.
Coming out next week.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait to purchase that one. That's gonna be just a lot of games I'll try on Game Pass, and then buy if I enjoy Game Pass, a glorified demo trier for me. No, I'm buying Persona 3. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Same here, but I think probably for me it's because I want to play it on my Steam Deck without having to do a bunch of trickery. Because I'm actually going on a trip in the second week of February, so I'm cool. Persona 3 is one of those ones. I'm probably not going to stream Persona 3 because I'm streaming a JRPG, not right this second, but Infinite Wealth's what I've been streaming lately, the last few days. And I'd like to just play it on my own, because I've started Persona 3 twice now, and I've never finished Persona 3. I've started FES on an emulator, and then the portable one on Steam. Got a good chunk of the way into the portable one, actually, the Steam version, but I have no idea how it ends. So this will, and then once they announce Reload, I'm like, okay, I'll wait it out. But
and I appreciate that take. There's several games that like I'll get, and I'll be like, hey, I'm going to stream this. I bet it'll garner viewers. And then I'll be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to. I want this to be just for me. I want to have fun with this game as my own personal experience. Maybe I'll do a review or something. And so that's. I think I streamed Resident Evil 4 once. Just it was my very first live stream on my channel ever, and so I was like, I'll do it just more to test how live streaming works than it is to stream the game itself. But yeah, I completely agree with that mentality. And as far as games releasing in the past, so a lot of people in the chat were saying Smash Bros was funny, because Smash Bros Brawl was a game I was looking forward to for years, because I'm a massive Melee fan. I think Smash Bros is arguably one of the greatest franchises of all time. And so at the time we only had the original in Melee, so I was like much like you were, Neo, with Destiny. I was following the development of Brawl for literal years. And this is it came out in 2007 or early 2008. So this is well before the modern version of the internet. So I was like picking up issues of Game Pro, subscriptions to Game Informer, Nintendo Power, just to see what they all said differently about the game.
I was looking forward to Brawl, not quite like that, but it did end up being the Smash Bros. I have played the most of.
For a long time, it was Melee probably still had a beat. I'm not sure. I play Ultimate daily at this point. I'm a massive Ultimate player. But yeah, it was Sonic smirking on his feet. The fact that they got Sonic in a Smash Bros. Game, I was like in tears. That was a childhood dream. I also probably Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I followed the development of that game a lot. I was very excited for Twilight Princess.
I was too. Yes, I forgot about that one. But yeah, Charlie was with you with the Smash Bros. Ultimate. Kay is not a fan of Smash Bros. Ultimate.
I'm curious as to why. I saw that comment.
She loves Melee. That's her favorite. So, Tim Stock's saying also Smash Bros. Or some of the DBZ games. Spartacus is with me. Destiny 1 was better than Destiny 2. And Jacob Ironside is here. What's up, Jacob Ironside?
Hey, what's up, Jacob?
Bro?
What's up, all the chat? I haven't said hi yet, like an asshole. I'm sorry, guys, or like a jerk.
Hello, chat.
I've only been awake for about 20, 30 minutes. You guys got to bear with me. But yes, nice to see.
I'm actively dungeon grinding right now.
He's dungeon grinding. And James's favorite was Halo 3. Let's see here. He had a great comment here. He liked, I think, stayed up for like 7 hours next to a jackhammer digging in a floor to wait for Halo 3's release. That's epic. So
so I like the Halo games, or at least I like the early Halo games, and I was never a day one guy for Halo. I just enjoyed it when I played them, but I could not. I completely understood the hype for Halo 3 when it was coming out. I had friends that stayed up all night waiting in line for midnight releases. One friend of mine, I was still in middle school or so when that came out, and I remember one particular friend of mine skipped school to play Halo 3 all day. It was the hype for Halo 3 was there, and I respect it 100%. It was sick.
That brings a good question, because I've never skipped school or anything for a release of a video game. Have you guys ever done that?
Actually, with the original Metal Gear Solid. But
really,
I was in 8th grade, and I got into the art school for high school that I was trying to get into. I had to actually audition for it and stuff. I was a musician. But and my parents were happy about the fact that I had done that. So I won the ability to just not go to school the day after Metal Gear Solid came out. And I went to my first midnight launch.
Nice. And you didn't have to worry about a day one patch preventing you from playing it.
Yeah, that is true as well.
Skip school for I know I'd skipped school for movies. I don't think I'd ever skip school for a video game.
Mortal Kombat Deception for James. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, Fallout 4 was another one that the release I was that was a midnight release. That was a I waited in line from about 3 p.m. until midnight probably, and I ended up playing it for I think 28 hours straight, barring a 2 to 3 hour excursion with a buddy to go get sushi. It was bananas. We used to smoke hookah all the time. We had spent the day before it came out building our own homemade hookah that looked like a Nuka-Cola bottle. We were so stoked for Fallout 3 or for Fallout 4. It was a great time.
So you're a fan of Fallout 4 then?
Yeah, I'm not a Fallout 4 hater. I know Fallout 4 has lots of haters. I'm not a Fallout 4 hater. I think the game is great. Or at least fun enough to justify playing.
I haven't played a whole lot of it. I probably got about 15 hours into it, but I did play a heck of a lot of Fallout 3. I think I didn't skip school or anything or work. I don't remember whether I was out of school at that time yet when Fallout 3 came out, but I did play about 40 hours of Fallout 3 in the first 4 or 5 days it came out. I was hooked on that. And then I kind of burned myself out
until the Game of the Year edition dropped on disc because I didn't.
Probably a better way to play it with the Broken Steel DLC, because it adds the ability to keep playing afterwards. That was a big point of contention, is that you beat it and you can't go back and continue exploring. You have to start a new game.
Oh, I didn't know that about the original drop. That's crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't until the third DLC, Broken Steel, that they allowed you to continue exploring after you beat the game.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Fallout 3. I was late to the party on it, but I loved it. So it was I feel like I'm fake fan times when I talk about Fallout, but it caused me to go back and play all the originals and really enjoy them.
I can just hear Ryan right now, my other co-host, screaming why am I there? Because he loves the Fallout franchise. Fallout 76 is one of his favorite games. So
I have not played 76, sort of. So I way back in the day, when Fallout 76 first came out, I had a different YouTube channel called Drinking Games where we would get drunk and play games. And so we got Fallout 76 on release to do that show, and it sucked. I've heard it's gotten really good since then, but on launch, it was awful. We played it one stream, hated it, and never touched it again. But I've heard it's been great since then, so I need to give it a second shot.
Yeah, Legion Games is the Ryan I'm talking about. He's my usual other co-host, and he says it had problems at launch, but they've done a lot of work to it, and he says that it made it a good game. So, but yeah.
What's up, Beard of Liberty? Nice to see you, brother.
My buddy Beard of Liberty is here. What's up, Beard? Good to see you, bro.
Beard is the man.
Beard's, yeah, it's funny how he's everywhere in all these other channels, but he doesn't have a channel.
Doesn't have his own channel. Yeah, I had him on my show last Monday. He we streamed together for the first time on Jacob Ironside's channel. I was like, Beard, you and I talk on Twitter all the time. What's your YouTube channel? I never been able to find it. He's like, I don't have one. People just like talking to me on Twitter. So they keep bringing me on streams. It's like, oh, want to come on mine? Like, it was great.
He's YouTube homeless. So, all right. We're going to go ahead and get into our next topic for the day. So, because I've been building this list of questions for like years before I started my channel. So I have a good bank of questions to pull from. I've had the idea for this, the idea for Party Chat for well before I ever started my channel. So, I have a lot of questions I've come up with years ago. This one actually I just came up with this week, and I don't remember if there was anything that triggered it for me to spur the thought or what, but it's like popped in my head one day. I'm like, oh, that'd be a good question to talk about in Party Chat. So for the next topic we're going to talk about today is, what video game character do you most closely identify with? I was like, oh, that's a good question. And I actually had to, these questions like these are why I send out the topics beforehand. So if you want to do some research and go through your game library and figure out what your answers are, because I had to do that last night.
You sent this question. It was the only one that I immediately was like, yep, I've got an answer. Let's do it. So
let's hear it.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay. Why is that?
I'll be real. I have the most lazy, carefree, laissez-faire attitude about life in general, to the point where it drives my friends nuts. Like I'm like Sonic's whole thing is like, whatever happens, happens, but I'm gonna have a smile on my face while doing it. And like, that is 100% how I live my life, for better or for worse. It is definitely sometimes for worse, but regardless, that's like a diehard optimist who will just look on the bright side of anything. But at the same time, when it's time to get serious, I will buckle down and get serious. If I was at a funeral, I'm cracking jokes, because like that's just my sort of coping mechanism, is like, so, in a matter to face adversity or whatever, making jokes. I've gone to court for whatever dumb thing I'd gone to court for in my young years. It was making jokes in the courtroom, things like that. So yeah, I identify with Sonic more than any other character.
James has my question too. The most important question is, do you love chili dogs?
I do. I adore chili dogs.
I love chili dogs too. And do you go fast?
I mean, to my knowledge, still hold records for my high school track team. So unless they've been beaten in the 13 years or whatever I've been out of high school, I used to go very fast. Yes.
Sweet. Okay. Yeah, I was I played soccer in high school, and I actually played goalie, and I was arguably the fastest person on the team, which was kind of fun.
They should have had you in forward. I played soccer in high school as well. I was a forward. Why did they have the fastest guy as a goalie?
Because the reason I didn't really ever want to go into be goalie, but when I started playing soccer in middle school, the guy who was goalie for like, because I played basketball first, and then I started playing soccer. And while I was playing basketball, the guy on the soccer team, like everyone except for the goalie was pretty good, because the goalie was a very large, like overweight guy. And so I was like, I'm sorry, but I got to displace you so that we have a better goalie.
Be a defender, not a goalie. Yeah.
So I kind of went into goalie by default. And yeah, I was in really good shape in high school. Yeah, I was pretty fast too, but not anymore.
Melee Game says I got married a girl named Amy, and you know what? I'll take it. Amy is probably my second favorite female character in gaming history after Jill Valentine. I think nice. She gets so much undue hate. I'm a massive Amy Rose fan, so I'll take it.
Okay. Hey, what's up? Shaka Zulu's here. Good afternoon, Shaka Zulu. Hello. So, Mark, what character do you most closely identify with?
I mean, honestly, like I don't really have one off the top of my head. I don't think there's a video game character that's like me in any real particular way.
There's so many anime characters that are cyborgs. What are you talking about?
But I mean, like I don't know, like that's
not his only defining characteristic.
And I think if anything, it's like a physical attribute more than it is anything else. I mean, it affects my life obviously because like a lot of when you're an amputee, a lot of things have to be restructured around like, hey, you only have one leg, so here's how you got to shower, you know. But I think that a video game character whose arc affected me pretty greatly recently was Glenn's from Chained Echoes. So if also that's another good one if you like JRPGs. Play Chained Echoes, which I've still not yet finished because I got really stonewalled by the final area. And
Chained Echoes the one that uses the same art style as like Octopath Traveler.
Not really. It's all 2D. I think you're probably thinking of the Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars and Chained Echoes are often.
I love Sea of Stars. That was sick.
Oh, okay, because that one's got 3D backgrounds and you know it's a kind of a 2D art style characters. Where Chained Echoes is very 2D. It was made by one German guy too, even though it's kind of a Japanese role playing game. It's not actually from Japan. Similarly, Sea of Stars is from Canada. So I mean,
I had no idea Sea of Stars was from Canada.
Yeah, it's Hawaiian. It's Hawaiian. God, I'm reading the word Hawaiian on screen. I'm playing like a dragon. They're in Montreal, so
I just Googled it. This looks gorgeous.
I did not know that.
But yeah, Chained Echoes. I guess without giving away exactly what happens, because that would be plot spoilers. Basically, what he has to learn is that all the bad things that he's done in his life are things that will never go away, and they will always be part of him. But that doesn't mean that he's always going to be a bad person, because your actions, which you perform as you move forward through your life, will be what define you to all the people you interact with. So
it sounds like Rurouni Kenshin.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. But I think that
I don't know if you're familiar with that anime or not, but it's
yeah, like Samurai X. I am aware of it, but I think that with Chained Echoes, because I'd have to start going into spoiler territory with like now I gotta explain what happens to him exactly. I think the best way to put it is just like that. It's about taking responsibility for the bad things you've done and knowing that doesn't mean you can just give up and be evil now, that you have to working to become a good person is still something that's worth doing, you know. And I thought
something that Marvel movies have completely forgotten. They can just like turn good on a dime and all is forgiven. So yeah, you know.
Yeah, and then they pretend it kind of never happened. It's like, oh yeah, no, don't worry, that person's good now. So it's like, okay, sure.
What about you, Neo?
Oh, first off, James says that he identifies with Robotnik and he's going to turn all your animal friends into soulless robots.
You touch my bird, I will murder you.
Oh, do you have a bird?
Oh, yeah, I have a bird. He's hand trained. He flies around the house like a dog and he does his own thing. It's awesome. I adore my bird.
I think I saw a bird either like on your YouTube banner or your Twitter banner somewhere. I'm assuming that's probably what it was.
Yep, that would be him. That's Hondo. Yep, he's a Hondo. Sweetheart, but a little a-hole at the same time. Yeah, I love him. He's great. He's like kind of the unofficial channel mascot. Sometimes he'll just sit on my shoulder while I do videos, and yeah, he's great.
Nice, cool. So yeah, for me, going back to a game I briefly mentioned a few minutes ago, because I did have to kind of go and think about this one for a little bit to figure out who I felt I most closely identified with, and not specifically the first game, but the game that I mentioned earlier was Dark Forces. But one of my the Dark Forces series is one of my is not even arguably is my favorite series of Star Wars games, because Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy are my favorite Star Wars games. But Kyle Katarn, I think, is an awesome character, and I mentioned him. No, that's what it was. Because we were talking on last party chat 2 weeks ago. We were talking about. We're briefly talking about character, like the D&D alignments, like moralities, you know, like chaotic neutral and evil, you know, chaotic evil and true neutral stuff, you know, that alignment chart. And the Jedi I mentioned when talking about that that I was chaotic good, but I mentioned Qui-Gon Jinn. But I feel that Kyle Katarn also kind of fits into that chaotic good alignment.
I would say Kyle Katarn fits it more than Qui-Gon. I would say Qui-Gon is very much more even a neutral good.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think that he could fit in either one of those. But alignment wise, I feel like that's one thing that I fit with him, and that, like I said, that's like my favorite series of games. And Kyle Katarn is my second favorite Star Wars character. So,
good. He's in my top 5. He's great. Who's your favorite? I gotta know then.
My favorite Star Wars character is Darth Bane.
Oh, good answer. The Bane trilogy are some of the best books in the entire EU.
I love I've got them right here, the Bane trilogy, since those are my favorite Star Wars books. But yeah, so Kyle Katarn was my answer. And it took me a little while to think about it, but I was like, when it dawned on me, I'm like, light bulb, yes, that's it. I feel like I most closely identify with Kyle Katarn. And yeah, I know James is a big fan of that as well. And when he was on, we talked about most hated video game characters. One of his was Rosh from Jedi Academy.
Melee Case says your least favorite character is Mace Windu. Is that true?
No, so this is
because he's mine as well. I was gonna be like, yeah, my man, fuck Mace Windu, screw Mace Windu. Sorry.
All right, you're banned. No, I like Mace Windu a lot, but we have this like perpetual battle going back and forth about like Kay and James hate Mace Windu, and I really like him. So it's this constant internet battle, kind of like she likes pickles and I hate pickles. And I am not a huge fan of Wind Waker, and Wind Waker is her favorite Zelda. So Kay and I are like, I would say we're like internet siblings because we're always fighting over stuff. We rarely agree on anything. And then James is almost like my internet twin because we agree on a lot of stuff. So it's just kind of funny. But yeah, so but yeah, good. They're good internet friends. We fight like
I have to say, Melee K, that I adore Wind Waker, and I don't know which is better, Twilight Princess or Wind Waker, because they're both incredible for vastly different reasons.
Twilight Princess.
I think Twilight Princess has more replays from me. I think I've replayed Twilight Princess more than any game in the Zelda franchise, but there's Wind Waker is incredible. I mean, I was a staunch defender of that game from day one, because if you guys remember when it came out, it got hate when it dropped, and I did not understand it. I thought it was incredible even on release.
Yeah. Oh, and James says he identifies with Dasan, who's the big bad of Jedi Outcast. Right at a Barney that wants to kill Kyle for no reason. So, and Spartacus saying that his favorite Star Wars character is Luke. Good answer.
It's mine too.
So, all right. Oh, it's jumping on me. I meant to click off that one. All right. Let's see here at 38 minutes. Cool. All right. So now in for topic 3. I thought it'd be fun to go even more nostalgia bait and talk about what video games from your childhood do you have the most fondest memories of. So I have, I kind of split it into 2 for single player memories and multiplayer memories. So while we're on the topic of Zelda, for single player, Kay already knows this because my favorite Zelda is Ocarina of Time, followed very closely by Twilight Princess. But Twilight Princess came out, I think, when I was in college. So, but I played Ocarina of Time as a kid. And
yeah, you guys are both a bit older than me because Twilight Princess for me came out, I think, when I was in 6th or 7th grade. So,
I'm pretty sure I was an adult when Twilight Princess came out.
Yeah,
I haven't been like 22.
I think you were about
I'm
4
40
years
this
older
year.
than me.
I'm a bit behind.
I'm
Sorry.
40, so yeah, I'm a decade older than you.
Oh yeah, and I'm right in the middle. But yeah, I played Ocarina of Time is like probably one of my favorite childhood games, and I played that game a ton. So that's probably the one I have the fondest memories of for single player memories. And then for multiplayer, even though it's not my favorite multiplayer game from this era, but I have so many fun memories playing GoldenEye with the guys with this 4-player split screen. My favorite is actually the spiritual successor, which was better than GoldenEye in every way, but didn't get the recognition it deserved. And I mentioned that often. Is Perfect Dark was my favorite of that type of game from back then. But I didn't play Perfect Dark that much with friends anywhere near as much as I played GoldenEye. And I just have similarly, I have a lot of fond memories of playing Halo with the 16-player LAN parties. That was also in high school, so that's, I mean, technically still childhood, since you're not really an adult till 18. But right. I'm thinking more of like
the bar for childhood stretches the older you get.
But I'm talking kind of more like elementary, middle school age.
Gotcha.
And so for me, that was when we played GoldenEye in middle school. I remember being super hyped the day I was going to go get GoldenEye after school. And I kind of got in trouble because I couldn't like focus on anything we were doing at school that day. And I kind of got in trouble because I was just couldn't focus on anything other than the day ending. And I was going to go pick up GoldenEye. But I had a lot of fun playing GoldenEye 4-player split screen and screen looking, so I was always better than everyone.
Oh, fuck you, man.
Yeah, you're
Oh, and Mark would also hate me because it wasn't my initial character because I grew really fast, so I was like taller than all of my friends in middle school by like a foot. It wasn't until high school that I stopped and they all kind of caught up to me. So when I started playing GoldenEye, I started playing as Jaws because he's the tall guy. But then when I realized I was at a massive disadvantage, I went the other direction. I started playing as Oddjob.
Oddjob, yeah, everyone plays Oddjob, and we all hated you. Like I hated you for playing Oddjob. And
like I guess what we're finding out is that Neo is like the biggest dick to play with. Like he's that guy. He's the kid who just used the cheap tactic. He's like, oh well, it's in the game, so I can use it. You can't get mad. Yeah. It's like, yeah, man, we're trying to have fun here.
I bully my little brother at video games because like I was 5 years older than him, so I used to just bully him when we play multiplayer games, and he would get like so upset. And then my dad would use the same thing on him and be like, well, you know, if it's in the game, I was like, oh, that's right, Dad.
That was exactly my philosophy. I'm like, hey, it's in the game. I'm going to use it back then. I'm not that way. I barely play anything multiplayer anymore. I'm only pretty much single player or co-op games. But so it's not as much now, but back then, yeah, I was definitely, as James said, Neo was that guy. I was that guy. I wouldn't say I am anymore. But yeah, so
like, I think that you for the whole, the idea though, of taking a game mechanics and saying, well, it's in the game, therefore it's fine. It's like when there's things that are broken, like Oddjob's height, which is stupid anyways because Oddjob was gigantic in Goldfinger. So I honestly think that to me told them that they didn't actually watch very many James Bond movies because one of the characters got Oddjob and Knick-Knack mixed up. Knick-Knack is the little person from Man with the Golden Gun. Oddjob is the giant Japanese man from Goldfinger. They're different characters. But like everyone could recognize it's like, okay, having a character who's a much smaller target but does equal bullet damage and is equal speed as every other person, it isn't fair, and it is the kind of thing that you're making yourself a person who's not fun to play with because you're the guy at the like recreational football game that's just decking people when he tackles them. It's like, dude. It's like, come on, man. Like, it's Sunday. We all got to go to work tomorrow. It's like, well, don't play football then. Boom. And like takes out another guy. It's like, okay, well, we're not inviting that guy next time. So I'm saying out there, don't be the person who uses the cheap tactics. No one likes that person.
Is in GoldenEye when you're Oddjob and you crouch and you stand next to Jaws, you're only up to like his shin.
No, I got my start in Magic the Gathering, and that's still to this day kind of my philosophy is like I'm very against card bans and whatnot. Like every now and again, all right, fair enough. They make a mistake and print something obscenely broken, but in most instances, you know what? No, if they made the card, there's 143,000 plus cards. If you made it, it should 9 times out of 10 be legal in tournaments. Like I'm so tired of these, B-word made players that like can't handle any sort of challenge or thinking outside the box to come up against certain strats. But also, I feel like that's more acceptable in a card game like Magic the Gathering when you've got literally thousands upon thousands of potential answers as opposed to a video game where you're very limited to what was programmed in 96 or whatever.
Well, yeah, especially in a first-person shooter, it's like there's only so many ways you can do first-person shooter deathmatch if like and have it work, have it be balanced. So anything that you change could theoretically throw the game's balance off and make it a game that isn't a fun game to play competitively because it's not a real competition unless it's fair, and that's right. That's kind of the thing, because if you have a super unfair advantage over everyone else that's playing with you, it's like, well, I mean, then you're the only one playing the game. Like everyone else is playing a different game with each other, and they're racing for second place. So it's like, congratulations up there on the podium, but everyone who's playing knows that you didn't really earn it. You had an item that everyone else didn't have, or like
you're literally the meme of that dude in third place who's like drinking the champagne as if he won.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the person in first place, but it's I don't know. I guess it's more like I don't know, like the things on the podiums where it's like there's clearly a person who had an unfair advantage in first place, and then the other two people in second and third are like, yeah, okay, that person won, but
yeah, Spartacus brings a good point.
They were definitely doing
were
steroids.
constantly balancing destiny, and it was ruining the game because they're balancing the weapons for multiplayer, and it's affecting how your guns operate in single player. It's like, keep them separate. You can change them in multiplayer to keep it balanced, but don't have it affect the single player game. That was really annoying.
That is the problem with having any multiplayer game in which your weapons, any multiplayer first person shooter, in which your weapons have an almost unlimited variety of roles and forms they can take, because your shotgun isn't the same as everyone else's shotgun. Like, so to have a competitive shooter, you really can't do it with, well, it's loot and seasonal content. You get new things all the time, because like, no, a competitive shooter needs to be, you press 1 to take out your axe, press 2 for the pistol, 3 for the shotgun, 4 for the chain gun, whatever, however many there are. And those are the only weapons that anyone has access to. And there's not a better version. There's not one that fires faster. There's not one that does acid damage. It's just, no, railgun to the head will always kill. A rocket launcher does damage and splash damage.
And like Unreal Tournament was like because I like, GoldenEye 007 just like anybody else, but like my go-to like 4-player tournament shooter was Unreal Tournament, and it felt genuinely like fair. I don't remember anything being super obscenely broken or unbalanced. It was like, hey, you're all on this map, find the good guns, race the good guns, and see who lives long enough. Also, Static 2020. This isn't my show because I wanted to make the exact same joke, but I wasn't sure if that would go over well.
I thought about that too, but yeah, I wasn't going to bring that up. But so, would you say Unreal Tournament's one of those games for you that you have fondest memories of from your childhood?
I mean, I've got fond memories of them, but no, I'd say that my go-to experience for like for genuine fun multiplayer was Melee. That was, you get all the boys together, to sleep over or whatnot. You've got the Mountain Dew and Coca-Cola pouring. You've got people choosing random and just going ham all hours of the night. It was, yeah, I think Smash Bros was really the ultimate multiplayer game. But if we're talking about like one-on-one versus games, Marvel versus Capcom 2. I was a big Marvel versus Capcom 2 player.
Yeah, I wasn't much into fighting games, but
I'm a dirty streetwalker for trying to be nice and show. I'm a dirty streetwalker for fighting games. So
yeah, I played all the Smash Bros except Ultimate because I don't have a Switch. But the one I played the most, and the one I played the most with friends, was Brawl. I played a lot of Melee, but I didn't really ever play that with friends. I ended up playing that one mostly solo, like playing against bots. Yeah, Kay was a big fan. Oh, yeah, and James always mentions he loves Unreal Championship 2, which he was playing just before he was on Party Chat last time, and he talked about that. And so, yeah.
As far as solo player games go,
yeah, go ahead.
To this day, my favorite game of all time, I play it, I'm not exaggerating, it easily at least 6 times a year just because I can beat it in a night and be happy with it, is Sonic Adventure. It's my favorite video game to this day. Nice. It is. I think it's not only is it the best Sonic game, but it's one of the best 3D platformers ever made. I think it's still, the controls hold up wildly well. The way that you can exploit the physics engine is amazing. There's that I can't stand when people call older games dated, when in all reality it's just they don't know how to play older games because they didn't grow up in the era. So Sonic Adventure is I hesitate to even call it a childhood game because I've never stopped playing it ever since childhood. It's always been a consistent factor in my life.
Nice. Yeah, I think you made a fan out of Kay because she loves Sonic. But cool. Yeah, no, just because you keep playing it now doesn't mean it couldn't be one of your fondest memories as a child, for childhood. So, because I haven't played it that much, but one of my other games that I didn't play a whole lot back then, but I did love it. I've actually played it more as an adult, but that's the one I've been playing recently that I'm going to talk about in our next topic. So, oh yeah, and James often mentions the original Battlefront 2. And still plays it like once a month.
Great game. The Steam port is garbage. I hate the Steam port of the original Battlefront 2.
I've only played the Xbox version, so I don't know what they did on Steam.
You can't play with a controller. It took out a lot of the like items and not items, but a lot of the functional options for gameplay, mechanics and maps and whatnot from the original version. It's basically just a watered down hey, we remembered you like this game. Here's the bare minimum that we can throw on a Steam port to get dollars for a game that was out 15 years ago, and it's just such an inferior port.
Which game was this?
Battlefront 2 on Steam.
Oh, okay. Wait, the original one?
The Steam port of the original Battlefront 2 is a garbage nostalgia money grub.
James is saying that it's good if you mod it. So he usually hasn't. Not that I've been playing on Steam very long, but he usually knows what he's talking about because he's played a lot of Steam.
That's fair. A lot of games are good with mods. I would like them to be good out the gate, and then made aesthetically better by mods for fun.
That is true. Although there's lots of older games that are fixed or have compatibility issues that are fixed with mods, and I would say that any PC gamer would be. I would go as far as to say ignorant to say, oh, well, I'm just not using mods. The developers need to fix this game. It's like, well, if you're talking about a game that was released 20 years ago, the developers are probably not fixing it anytime soon.
Right.
But there are people like you who really love this game. And some of those people know how to code and know how to develop and know how to be like, hey, I'm going to go in and do a fan patch for this and fix things. And okay, now Windows 11 is messing it up. So that community gets together again. It's like, okay, does anyone know how we're going to solve this issue? And, they hammer out the solution. And I think that's a wonderful thing about PC gaming. In fact, I think it's probably the thing that most sucks about consoles, because if your console gets released and it's not backwards compatible, it's very difficult for just the community to say, okay, well, let's add PS3 compatibility to PS5 by coding our own emulator into it. And it's like, all those doors are locked, man. You can't get in there, so forget about it. But on PC, it's like, no, all the doors are open. Should we just fix this game that we love? Yeah, let's do it. Let's fix this game that we love. And then they do it, and it's fixed.
Yeah. No, in that regard, I completely agree with you. Like, so what I guess just to clarify, what I'm referring to is like when a game comes out that's just a port of an old game and it comes out on Steam or GOG or whatever version it is you're playing, when it's a I don't know ground up is the right terminology, but basically when it's when they're re-releasing on a platform that never been re-released for, and stuff was, it seems like, I don't have confirmation of this, but it seems like stuff was cut just for simplicity's sake, not for or for laziness.
And I think I'll clarify that just because mods exist, that doesn't mean that criticizing the port is invalid. Like definitely do that. I would just encourage people to never say like, oh, I'm not going to mess around with modding. It's like, you should.
Oh no, yeah. I just talked about Sonic Adventure. I've modded the hell out of it. I've been playing vanilla Sonic Adventure for so many years. Once I got it on PC and was able to mod it, I'm like, oh, let's put Shadow in the game, or let's turn this level that was originally in Sonic. Like, let's import a Spyro the Dragon level and have Sonic run around in a Spyro level. Like it's
I mean, that's cool stuff you can do as well.
Sonic Adventure with mods.
But I guess the type of mods I was referring to are more things like DS Fix that they made for Dark Souls, because the Dark Souls PC port was crappy, but then the community was like, okay, well, let's make it better. Now, like the remastered one's fine now, and I think the biggest problem was the thing with the remaster is like, okay, now you have to buy it again, and it's just fine. It's not really much better than fine. So while I do have Dark Souls remastered, that's something that pissed people off. But the big reason I think a lot of people wanted the remastered one is just so they didn't have to worry about installing DS Fix, because they're not comfortable with mods. And I think it's like, guys, like honestly, go to the mod page. It'll be a GitHub or something like that. And on every single one, there'll either be a notepad document that when you open it, when you download it, that'll be in the package. When you extract it, open it, read it, it'll tell you exactly what to do, exactly where to put every file. And if you just pay attention to that and follow those instructions, you're good.
Super easy. Like I've never understood people who are against mods in terms of worrying about their computer or whatnot. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but also I guarantee you there's a YouTube tutorial for it, so you don't screw it up. Like, if you want to put in the work for it, I hesitate to even call it work. It's very easy. Like, in terms of games that technically had issues on launch that even ported over to this, like Fallout 4, as much as I love that game, had some glaring issues that I've easily fixed with mods. It was not difficult at all.
Yeah, and I think if anyone's a vanilla only Bethesda fan, that's just odd. I
mean, touching on the whole emulation on console thing, one thing that was kind of cool up until recently, you could actually I didn't do it, but I heard that it was possible to put emulators on Series X. You can still do it now, but you have to pay a license to activate dev mode or something. But it is still possible.
I think it's cool. But that license is like $20. Like if you're talking about like the cost of being able to play all your like PS2, PS1, like GameCube games on your Xbox, like that's not really a bad deal. Like
yeah, $20, dude. I would pay $20 to play Mario Sunshine on an Xbox just so I could say I played Mario on an Xbox. Like
it's not as simple as that, because you actually do have to basically install an operating system access on there, and then there's a version of, I want to say, RetroArch that they set up for it. So
my buddy dude who got me into Retro Achievements said that he got it running on his Xbox.
Yeah. So
is Retro Achievements the install mod you can add to various, you know, like Steam and whatnot, or emulators when you're playing older games? It literally has like if it's as if it was a PS4 or Xbox, like an achievement system. Yeah, I installed that to give older game. I think it was the first one I did it with was Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. To put achievements in that game, and yeah, that was awesome.
That's on my retro backlog.
Oh, you never played it?
No, I mean, I played it originally on N64, but I haven't played it since N64.
I won't lie, it is
retro version is
absurdly hard to play. That's one of those games where, because I was just talking about how older gamers need to, or newer gamers need to just recognize old games are a little bit different. That one is pretty rough when it comes to holding up.
That is a game that I will say for sure, Shadows of the Empire entirely coasted on its Hoth level. Like the opening Hoth level is the reason everyone remembers that game being awesome, and the whole rest of the game is not very good.
Honestly, I wouldn't say that. I love the Ord Mantell level. Basically, all the on foot levels I love. The flying levels are just awful.
Oh, really? Because I thought the Hoth flight level was okay, but man, it's a really, really rough third person shooter.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Again, I'm not calling them good. I'm just saying that I enjoy them. There's a big distinction.
I enjoyed it, but it hasn't aged well.
Yeah.
It's not.
I've been, because dude 1286 and I do an achievement show once a month, and he got me into Retro Achievements not long ago. So I've been doing RetroArch and stuff, and that's actually what we'll be talking about on our next topic here. But before we get to that, I don't think Mark, did you touch on what game you have the most fondest memories of from your childhood?
I mean, I guess I don't really know how to qualify that, because is it a game that I haven't played since my childhood, or like
it doesn't matter?
Because I don't
either way.
I don't know. I guess I mean, I don't want to sound like Dr. Manhattan or something, but I sort of don't view time in video games that way. Like a game that I loved when I was a kid, if I still love it as much as I say that I love it, I've probably played it recently as well. So it's like that. Is it a game? Like, I mean, it's a game I played a bunch of times, sure, but I don't know that there's a game that I can say, yeah, I love this during this time only, because generally I'll go back to those games and come to the decision. It's like, maybe that game actually isn't all that good. I had a good first experience with it, but I don't know. I don't know. And like, then is it correct to call that one of your fondest gaming memories if it's a game you don't even like now? Or that you think that it was like you overrated it because you were excited about it at the time, or whatever the reason would be.
If the memories are fond of it, I'd still say yeah. There's games I can look back on and be like, ooh, that was again like Shadows of the Empire. I've got such fond memories playing that, even though now I can acknowledge the game isn't good or hold up for modern play. But man, looking back on the times I would play it on, at my grandparents' house with my little brother or whatnot, the memories themselves are fond.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I have memories like that I could look back on, but I don't think one game sticks out as the one that I have the fond memories with. I guess maybe the original Halo, probably. I'd say one of the most fun things we did is when we were on a military course, we brought 3 27-inch CRT TVs and 4 of them, and then 4 Xboxes. So we had a room that we just do 16-player Halo 1 with, and that was kind of fun. But I mean, was that the best time I've ever had playing a video game? No. It was a good time, and it was kind of funny that we did that and that it worked. But like, I play a lot of video games, so it's hard for me to be like, my best experience with the game ever was when I was 22 and at an army base, uncomfortable as all hell. And like, it's like, well, no, I don't know. I'm probably having more fun grinding out this infinite wealth dungeon right now, to be honest. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't know that I have a good answer for it, because I guess it's just not really the way I think about it.
Yeah, James is with me. He's got a lot of fun memories from Halo 1. Yeah, some of my fondest video game memories it was in high school doing 16-player LAN parties of Halo. That was just so much fun. But okay.
I would also add some of my fondest memories are the OG Pokemon games up through about the Game Boy Advance / SP era, just trading with friends, doing battles, things like that. Just the camaraderie between me and my buddies on the bus or whatever when we were like, all right, now I want to go ahead and, hey, I need this for my Pokédex. And it's a Pokemon that only evolves by evolving. So I'm going to break out the link cable. I'm going to trade it to you. Then you trade it back. Like, those memories are great.
Oh, maybe. So I can think of one that is at least unique in that it's an experience that would be a real pain in the ass for me to set up now. Playing through all of Beatles Rock Band with a buddy of mine. Like we played the entire game one night, and but that's the thing, because it would be like, well, I could set up Beatles Rock Band right behind me and play it if I wanted to. Will I? Probably not.
Like, I got all my Rock Band stuff packed up and haven't used it in years, but I want to because I love playing Rock Band.
Yeah, but it's very cumbersome, and like there's wires for everything because they never. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, because you were talking about earlier that you're a musician, and I got into the Guitar Hero and Rock Band games well before I learned to play guitar or anything. That I started learning to play instruments at 16, and ever since then, I suck at those games. I cannot go back to playing Guitar Hero or Rock Band. It's so hard to play now that I play like actual instruments. So do you have that problem?
No, I think for me it was kind of the opposite, because I played guitar since I was like 7 years old. Like I was really young when I started playing guitar. I wasn't any good back then. It's not like I was a child prodigy, but yeah, I was comfortable with the action of playing guitar. And Guitar Hero 2, I think, was the first one I played, and it came out it was the Xbox 360 version of Guitar Hero 2 that was the first one I bought and played. Well. And I guess, like, I don't know. I guess I got really good at it and almost learned it as if it was a new instrument. But I'd also been the kind of guitar player who would play guitar and then play bass, and I can play an upright bass with a bow. And those are things that are similar in some ways, but they're also quite different in their own little unique ways. So I guess I kind of viewed Rock Band and Guitar Hero playing as just a different version of playing guitar. And essentially what I was doing was playing a little synthesizer that I was reading music for the colors going down. And it was like, hey, in order to make this sound, you need to press these two buttons and hit this thing that's kind of like a strum bar. And if you start doing it fast, it's applying a lot of the same finger movements that you'd use for playing guitar on the left hand, at least, not really the right at all. I guess, I don't know, Penning, you can kind of just like float your hand and then pick the thing as if it's an actual string. But I find that it's actually better if you like root your hand and just kind of use your thumb. And if you need to go back and forth, put your index finger and thumb on it and then like physically do that.
That's usually how I play with index finger and thumb. But I'm impressed that you can play a stand-up bass with a bow. I can play stand-up bass, but not with a bow. I only play it with finger style. So
that's what I did in high school. So like I got into the string orchestra at the high school that I went to, and that allowed me to go to that high school. It was a nice one, but it wasn't a private one or anything. Like it's just you had to prove that you were talented enough to be there. I guess it's like, do you practice hard enough at your instrument that you can be on the orchestra here? But I mean, my sister went to the school too, but she was a dancer, and there was drama classes and acting and like art, like artists, visual artists. But I was one of the musician guys.
Cool. All right, well, let's move on to our last topic because we're running low on time here. So for the last topic, I'm going to start off here because this is an answer to a thing I've mentioned many times today. And what I skipped over earlier, because what I've been playing lately is RetroArch, and one of my favorite games. Like I said, I didn't play it a whole lot back then. I played it more as an adult, but it was still my favorite. And so this topic is your favorite game from the 4th generation of consoles, which is Super Nintendo Genesis era. And for me, my favorite games from that era are the Mega Man X trilogy on Super Nintendo. And just the last 2 days, I was streaming Mega Man X2 and X3. And those are my favorite Mega Man games. So he played X3 on Sunday. And my other buddy, DJ Axis, has been playing through the Mega Man X games. He usually does a Mega Man Monday. And I was watching Nerdporio play X3, and X3 is my favorite of them. And watching him kind of like fail at it, I'm like, okay, this got me the bug. Now I need to play it and kind of show you how it's done. So I played through that on Thursday night instead of doing open mic, and DJ Axis was in my ear because he recently did X1 and X2. He's going to be doing X3, but he's the least familiar with X3, and I'm very familiar with it. So I was playing through it.
X3 is also one I'm least familiar with. 1 and 2. I played it, but I put far more time into 1 and 2.
So yeah, so X3 is my favorite
one's
Super
definitely the
Nintendo
one I
game.
put the most time into.
So my favorites of the Mega Man X trilogy on Super Nintendo, because those are my favorite Super Nintendo games and my favorite games from that era, is X3, then X1, and then X2. Not that I don't like X2, it's just my least favorite of those three. But because DJ Axis is going to be playing through X3 soon, and he's very unfamiliar with it, we're in a Discord call, so I could talk to him and explain what I was doing to give him tips for when he does his X3 playthrough. So I was doing X3 and X2 over the last 2 nights, and that was a lot of fun. So curious, kind of keeping on that nostalgia train. What are you? I think we already know yours, Leon, because that's the same generation. You already said your favorite game of all time, so I'm assuming yours is the Sonic game you mentioned, or is that one of the?
Well, the Sonic Adventures Dreamcast, so it was the next generation.
Okay, that was next generation.
Yeah, but I do have two.
That's 2 generations later, I guess.
I guess technically it was
Genesis. Saturn was between Dreamcast and Genesis.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
The America didn't get jack for games when it came to the Saturn, so it gets often forgotten. But yeah, I guess you're right. Dreamcast would be technically 2 generations later. But yeah, no, I've got a different answer for Super Nintendo and for Genesis, because being a divorced child, I had Genesis at my dad's house and a SNES with my mom.
I played Genesis at a friend's, but I only ever had a Super Nintendo. So
man, I loved I actually probably love the Genesis more than the SNES in terms of like the controller, how it lays out, the visuals. But I think the SNES had a better overall library of games. But
really? I thought the Super Nintendo controller was way better than the Genesis controller. I really didn't like it. The 3-button one especially, but then the 6-button one for some reason felt difficult, like it felt confusing. I was like, wait, hold on, why isn't there anything up here? Why are they over there?
Buttons.
The shoulder buttons, I think,
controller had shoulder buttons too.
Super Nintendo one did, yeah.
Yeah, which was that was a game changer.
The 6-button one didn't have shoulder buttons.
Oh, when I was at when I was at a friend's house, he had a 6-button Genesis controller and it had shoulder buttons. I don't know if it was first party or not.
Yeah, like it might have been like a Mad Catz one or something like that.
It could have. I have no idea.
But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember the 6-button having.
I don't remember one with. I don't remember one with shoulder buttons either. That doesn't mean they didn't exist, but yeah, I didn't have a 6-button one with triggers or shoulder buttons. Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 / Sonic and Knuckles. That to this day is my favorite Genesis game. But more than that, my favorite SNES game is my favorite game from that era, and that's Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Oh god, that game's fucking horribly
Mark was
difficult.
Just talking about that game
last
Such a hard game, man.
I did not. I've to this day owned the copy I had with the SNES I had in my childhood. They both still work. I'm blessed. I did not beat that game, that particular cartridge, that game, until I was 22, and I think I'd had it since I was like 6 or 7.
And the real ending?
Yeah, the real ending.
No, the real ending is the one that counts. You can get through the game, like the first playthrough, like the get through it once. That is doable. It takes a long time, but you can do it. It's the second one that's just there's such an element of luck to it. I luckily did get it a couple years after it came out, but so I was still a kid, and I was quite young too. I think I was 8 when I got it, because I got that the month after I got the Super Nintendo, because my parents got home from a trip where they went to New York, where in the US the Super Nintendo came out before it did in Canada. So they picked one up for me and just gave it to me right when they got home, and I played Super Mario World straight for like a month. And then Christmas happened, and I got Final Fight and Super Ghouls and Ghosts. And Super Ghouls and Ghosts I probably finished around when I was 10 or 11.
Is it? Yeah, that's like, you got it so much quicker than I did. I had consistently played that game for probably 15 years before I ever got the true ending. But when I did, I felt so accomplished. Now, I won't lie. Nowadays, I'm like, all right, for simplicity's sake, because it's already hooked up, I'll just play the Switch version. But I was like, no, if I'm going to beat this game, I don't want any rewind functions. I don't want to be able to do, anything that would be considered cheating. I
wouldn't use rewind, but right now there's no way I would try to do that without save states, or at least the save state at the end of the first playthrough. I'd be like, no, forget it. I'm too old to have to worry about the dice roll of getting 2 perfect runs in a row. Like, because that's basically what you have to do. And there's a new boss at the end of the second one.
That's brutal.
Yeah, easily probably the hardest game I've ever played, or at least one of the hardest games I've ever played. But my God, do I love it. It is. I think that I wish games were still, and some are, but like in general, I wish the games like that were still being made in terms of the difficulty, because man, do I love it. I guess nowadays you have like Elden Ring and whatnot is comparable, but I would still say that
I don't
it's a
even
different
know.
kind of difficulty.
Oh yeah, because I don't want to defend Super Ghouls and Ghosts that much and be like, man, that was the way to do it back then, man, because that was really annoying to have that be the condition by which you finish the game. Like, to get the real ending, you have to not only beat the game and overcome all of its challenges, you have to do it twice in a row with the same pool of lives and continues. Like it didn't even have continues. I think it might have just been lives or just continues.
I remember doing something one time where I got to like the end of the game and I like beat the final boss with like a sliver of health, and then he went into a next form, and I was just like, I'm done. It just like completely crushed all hopes I had. I don't remember what it was, but I remember like I'm going to come back to this at a later time now that I know there's another phase. And getting to that point and realize you have a whole other
the second phase is in the first playthrough. Why do I not remember that? Does he get really big? Like, does he become like a giant towering monster that like kind of takes up the whole level? Like
that's to my knowledge. I think that's only in the second playthrough. But Neo, you said that was a different game, right? You just had similar.
Yeah, I'm not talking about.
Okay, no, I thought you were talking about Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Never mind.
I'm talking about there was a game I played that was like that. And it just crushed my spirits. And I'm like,
I will never forget that boss later. When I saw that, I was so scared. And that was not the time I beat him, by the way. So I got to him and then lost a couple times, like not even just once. And because I think it would ultimately be annoying if every time you died to Millennia in Elden Ring, it restarted your playthrough. Like, it restarted your character. Not even like put you back at the beginning of the area. But like, no, all of your progress is gone. You're no stronger. Like, do not press go. Do not collect $200.
But yeah, getting to that point and like being like, oh, there's a whole nother phase of this boss fight. But instead of being a boss fight, having like, oh, I played the whole game again. It's like, no way. So yeah, I've never played Super Ghouls and Ghosts, but I've seen plenty of play of that game. So, but yeah, that's. I mentioned often because one of my favorite games of all time is a very difficult game as well, and I love it. Is Ninja Gaiden Black. So I understand the what we call it, masochism of liking hard games.
I don't know, like Ninja Gaiden Black, it's hard because the enemies are designed to be difficult and the mechanics are difficult to master. It's a little bit different than the kick in the balls kind of difficulty, where it's just like, just do it again now. And because honestly, it turns into a slot machine of just, do I get lucky twice in a row on this run? There's a huge element that's in your control, but ultimately it's like that's a game where a lot can go wrong.
The moment you screw up and you pick up like the torch weapon by accident when you've had the dagger for 8 levels, you're like, well, this run is done.
Like that's it. I have to restart. I'm going to die.
So what's up, Gord King's hopping in saying hello. What's up, Gord King? Good to see you, bro. So
the torch was useless.
Yeah, right. It's the worst weapon in the game.
It had no range. No range at all.
So what about you, Mark? What was your favorite from that era?
I don't know. That's kind of a tough one because I mean, there's so many different genres of video games, and like I guess like honestly in that era, probably Doom, which like I don't know that you would call that a Super Nintendo game because I was playing it on PC. But I'd say
they had a Doom on Super Nintendo though, right?
I did not. I had never played Doom on Super Nintendo. I'll say that for sure. Like that was not what I probably ever would have bought. Not in my experience, I'm not talking about the Super Nintendo one. So I wouldn't say my favorite Super Nintendo game is Doom because it's like that's not where I want to play Doom, and B, I didn't play that one, so how could it ever be my favorite?
I'm just saying that the original Doom would have been that era because Doom was on Super Nintendo. So I would say even though it's on PC, it still qualifies.
No, like I'm aware of the like when it came out in history. That's what I mean. I said like if we're gonna say like be real about what was my favorite game during that generation, it was Doom and it was on PC. But if we're talking like that console generation, because PC doesn't exactly have generations, so it's like it's just there's operating systems, I guess, but like. Usually everything that worked on one operating system will at least work on the next one. If it was designed for 2 operating systems earlier, it might be a bit of a dice roll. Now, though, with PC gaming getting as like big as it is, I think we'll run into that less and less over time. But yeah, I don't know. I guess Final Fantasy 6 probably, or 3 as I played it at the time.
Okay.
But I mean, like, that's just me being like, well, that was probably my favorite story back then. But I don't know, like, for games,
was like a game changer when it came to story, introducing stories in games that early.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I did. Now that you mentioned, I did notice that in the question, I did say console generation, but I didn't necessarily mean console generation, just that generation of games. So yeah, I'd say that Doom definitely counts. But cool. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up a little bit early today because I got another stream immediately after this. So, but I thought that was fun and that was a great episode. A lot of great discussion. So, one thing I just wanted to mention before we move on is that because I've got a lot of questions in my list for like favorite game of like this generation or this console or this year. I think I'm going to sprinkle one of those type of questions into each episode in addition to the other type of topics of like, favorite characters or stuff like that. So not next episode, but I'll talk about that right before we wrap up because next episode is going to be a little bit of a special, a little different than usual. But the episode of Party Chat after that. So, yeah. So, Words of Paradise, Leon, thank you for joining me. That was awesome having you on. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, it's been a blast. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, man, it was good meeting you.
Glad this worked out. So, what do you got going on in your channel coming up?
So I do mostly I cover nerdy news with a bit of a political tinge. I do videos almost every day. However, every now and again, do something a little bit different, whether it be scripted long form videos like the ones I've recently done about top 10 video games that need remakes or top 10 underrated anime. But in general, nerdy news every day. Today did a reaction to the new. I don't usually do reactions, but sometimes something happens and you got to. And I had to do, me and my buddy, who another musician, we had to do a reaction to the Ben Shapiro, Tom McDonald facts rap. Because, and that was a lot of fun. So yeah, if you want to watch that dropped today. It dropped 2-3 hours ago. Really enjoyed putting that together. And I do my live show, which I'm going to, if either of you were amenable to, get you on at some point in the near future.
I'd love to.
But yeah, I run my live show Countercast every Monday at 3:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah, other than that, like just usually nerdy videos every day.
Yeah, since I discovered you from being on our tutorials channel last week and watching your videos, and they've been great.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you.
So, yeah. If you ever, I know we were talking about maybe coming on for open mic sometimes. That's more open-ended, doesn't have specific topics. So we can try to figure something out that might work for you because you said that Saturday would work better for you. But I typically do.
Yeah, the Saturday morning because on open mics on Thursdays, right?
Typically on Thursdays, but I can move it around to fit schedules. So.
Yeah, I work Wednesday through Sunday, and it's a night job. So I mean, if it's slow enough, then I can, I can usually work. Just every now and again, I'm on stream as well. I work all the time because I work from home. But I usually have to be like, hey, I've got to dip out for a few minutes to do my job, and then I'll be back. Like I don't like to leave folks hanging on. Like if it's a panel show, it's one thing because you're not going to notice one dude gone for a few minutes. But if it's a one-on-one thing, I hate leaving people hanging for an undetermined amount of time, whether it be 2 minutes or 20 minutes. And it's just like, man, that's such a unfair to the host. So
every time that happens to me, I'm just like, can someone in the chat please ask me a question? Because if you give me any questions, I can kill 10 minutes. But when it's like, hey, think of a thing to say, it's like, so did anyone play any recent video games or watch any television?
Open mic is great because just open-ended discussion, and I usually just start off with one question, and it leads to like a 3-hour discussion. So, those
get you on my favorite types of conversations. I'd love to be a part of it. Just don't hold it against me if I have to dip now and again. So,
we'll figure out a time that works for you because I'd love to have an open-ended discussion with you, just like Chillporial. And then I'd love to come on your channel sometime as well when it works. So.
I follow you. Mark, what's the best way to contact you, if I may ask?
I'm at Cyborg Mark on Twitter, or I guess markthecyborg@gmail.com. But but my YouTube channel though is Mark the Cyborg. The only reason I'm not Mark the Cyborg on Twitter is because it was taken by someone in 2009. It's not tweeted since 2009, and it's followed by Barack Obama. I'm not kidding about that. I have no idea what the story is behind it. And how could I have faked that? Obviously it wasn't me that set that up.
So normally I preload everyone's links into the stream description, which I forgot to do, but I will do that. But I did plug in Words of Paradise's link to his channel into the chat. But I will add all the links in the description afterwards. So, Mark, what do you got going on today?
Okay, so right now,
not necessarily today.
I'll be streaming Infinite Wealth today. I'm just doing some grinding. There's like I was mentioning it earlier. If you play Persona 5, there's an area called Mementos that's basically like not endless, but it's a leveled, like a tiered, procedurally generated dungeon where every time you go into it, the dungeon's a little different. And there's one of those in this game just called the Labyrinth, and it's a good place to go grind out and like earn gear and get some things up. And I was told that level 25 is the recommended level to finish this one I was at, because chapter 26, chapter 6, which is the one I'm on, Puppet on a String is what it's called, begins, and it essentially is a game like Pal World or Conan Exiles for a minute. Like it decides, okay, now you're on this other island and you've got to create a 1-star resort to help this island community kind of get their shit together again. So you gotta do these daily tasks and stuff. I'm chopping down trees and like mining for ore, and was like, wow. I was like, I didn't expect that to happen. But I think the deal is they want you to slow down pushing through the story, because this area is a big difficulty spike. And they said, yeah, you might want to get your characters up to like level 25. But I found that with a reasonable amount of grinding, you can just go through the Labyrinth dungeon like 2 or 3 times, and or at least the first tier of it, like tier 1, that is the only one you'll be wanting to do with this one, because tier 2 I think starts at level 32. It says recommended level 32. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going in there. I'll just go in the one that's level 1 to 25 or whatever it is, and get the characters up. So I'll be streaming that later today, and tomorrow on Metal Commander's channel, we're doing the first episode of Metal's Forge in 2022, and that 2024. Sorry, God, I'm terrible with numbers today. And that is gonna hopefully be a regular show. That Metal Commander, cool. Mahler's German friend, if anyone knows him. But yeah, Metal's Forge is a good show that I've been on quite a few times, and I'm happy that I've got a regular spot on it.
Yeah, you've mentioned him a few times, not necessarily on here, but I know you've mentioned Metal Commander on a few other streams, and I've just never checked him out, so I will have to check that out.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. And there's a lot of streams I've guested on that channel, like episodes of Metal Forge. But yeah, he has Mahler on all the time, and Fringy, and like all the EFAP people. He's on like most episodes of EFAP too. Like he's the one that's
since you brought that up, I should probably take the moment to just shout out, Hypnotic, who he runs Saturday Night Hypnosis. I'm a regular on that show, and give him the credit where it's due. He's been instrumental in helping me make my channel what it is. Him and Cold Classic Cage have been incredible. So yeah, big shout out to both them. And then if you guys if anyone watching is free night Saturday Night Hypnosis at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, it is a blast. It's just a panel show where we where we roast pop culture. And even though that gets tiring after a while, I like to find the positives and the good in it. Every now and again, it's just fun to poke the bear. So,
and you can come to my channel and listen to Yang Ya's voice acting, because we are playing it in English. But I mean, to be honest,
a selling point right there.
To be fair to Yang, he sounds a lot better in this game than he did in Man Who Erased His Name, like the spinoff that came out. Or like the spinoff that came out 2 months ago, but the English dub was delayed by a month and I think they might have been trying to fix it up a little, because it's significantly weaker than the dub in this game, but with the same actor playing the same role. It might just be that now I'm getting used to it a bit more.
That Young controversy was wild when that dropped.
Honestly, like his biggest problem was just the way he reacted to all of it.
Right.
He started like blocking people, and I think he got really upset about the fact that people weren't like pumped about the fact that he was Kiryu. He was all like, oh, I'm this YouTuber who everyone loves, and now I'm playing this legendary character. Everyone's going to be so happy about this, and I'm going to be a legend from here on out. And I think that when most people were like, yeah, your voice sucks for this character.
I wouldn't. He did like the type of content he did was always like calling out large Japanese companies when they do shady things, and then lo and behold, he's in a game by Sega. Like, okay, well, it seems like he may have sold out.
I mean, that should have been apparent after he retracted his Cyberpunk review. And like the review itself, you could argue, was kind of a shill review, and his retraction was effectively coming out admitting that's exactly what it was. But my problem with it is like, so you're admitting that you have no integrity at all when it comes to analyzing games, that you're just doing it to like be part of the hype cycle. You're a marketing person. But anyways, I think though that has really nothing to do with his ability as a voice actor, because like I'm certain there's plenty of voice actors who are not great at analyzing video games. It's not a criteria I have for them, really. The only problem is he's playing a Kiryu in his late 50s, early 60s. Like, it's kind of a little ambiguous.
Sounds like a teenager.
Well, he doesn't sound like a teenager, but he definitely sounds like a guy who's like 29, 30. Like, I don't know if he's older than that.
You were talking about the whole voice acting thing. Was that when you were on Side Scrollers earlier this week?
Yeah, but like, honestly, playing the emotional beats that he's hit so far as I've been playing, which I did not know actually by the time, because during Side Scrollers I hadn't played it yet. I fired it up right after the Side Scrollers episode. But at the end of chapter 3, he's got a basically monologue, but like, he's talking to people, so you could call it a dialogue, where he has got actual like emotional content to deliver, and he does a pretty good job with it. So I was like, oh yeah, he's doing well enough here that I'm buying the emotion that the character is telling me that they're expressing. And like, really, for a voice actor, that's kind of all you need. I still don't think he's great casting for Kiryu, but it's not pulling me out of the game nearly as much as I thought it would be. So for those concerned about infinite wealth in English, the other reasons are Kaiji Tang, the voice actor for Ichiban, is incredible. And for example, you'll have things like a machete battle against Danny Trejo, which happens in this video game. And it's Danny Trejo. I guarantee you Danny Trejo is not doing his Japanese voice. So for those characters, it's like, well, it takes place in Hawaii and everyone's speaking English. So like the Japanese one, it's not quite the perfect fit that it is in every other Yakuza game that entirely takes place in Japan, because it's like, well, most of these characters are Americans. The party members are Japanese, so them speaking Japanese to each other makes sense. But like, everyone you interact with is just Hawaiian for the most part. But yeah, so it's been a pretty solid game so far. But if you do want to play it in Japanese, you can always pop over to my stream to check out the English. I will be playing it in Japanese when I'm done this playthrough, but it might be a very long game.
All right. Well, I got to get going here. So I am immediately going to be on Ryan Roger Athe's channel for Reality Based here in just a few minutes. After
that, tell him Leon says to fuck off and die.
Yeah, I'll tell him.
He'll know what it means.
I'll be your messenger. And then after that,
I love Ryan. I'm just messing.
And then after that, I'm going to be on Fractured Filters channel for watching Stargate SG-1 Episode 3. And then this evening, I'm going to be on After the Weekend with my good buddies JT and R2 the Icky, talking about movies. So got a busy day streaming today. Thank you, everyone who joined us in chat today. I had an excellent time on today's party chat. Had a great time meeting you and chatting with you, Leon. Thanks, as always, for joining me, Mark. You guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you later. And everyone, in the meantime, game on.